Hey there, Michelle. How you doing today?
Good, Lindsay. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. We are in 2024. It's going to be a
Yes.
good year. By the way, Michelle, we got our many of our listeners heard from Spotify
Yeah.
about what their top shows were, and we got a ton
Oh.
of messages on Instagram
Oh,
from
wow.
our students letting us know that we are in their top 5, or we're their top 1. I wanna do
Oh
a
my
really
God.
quick shout out to David Fernandez Padilla, Edson Perez, Luciano Armanini, Sheila Octaviani. Oh my god, Michelle, there are so many of them. This is
Yeah.
amazing. Fernando
Uh-huh.
Nunez, Leticia Vaz. All of these listeners have come to our Instagram channel and told us we're in their top 10 or top 1 or top 5 shows on Spotify. It's
That
incredible.
is so cool. Thank you guys. That really means a lot. That's really a big honor. So thank you so much.
It's amazing, and we are doing some really exciting things, particularly this year over on Spotify, so check it out over there, guys. And
Yes.
Michelle, we have some poll results to announce, don't we?
Yes, yes. So speaking of Spotify, guys, one of the things, if you haven't heard yet, we've been doing something really, really interesting on Spotify. So we are interacting with you through polls. So at the end of this episode, also, we will be giving another poll. So definitely stay tuned for that. But recently on episode 2100, which was 3 social gaffes from Seinfeld that you must know, we asked a poll question. And the question was, do you watch Seinfeld?
Yes.
Lindsay has the results.
Yes, so we found out that 30% of you guys said you do. Yes, you do watch Seinfeld, and 70% no. So 70% of you have a very exciting thing to discover.
Yes.
Michelle, does that poll surprise you, or did that feel about right?
I guess it doesn't surprise me actually. I feel like I've had a lot of students. It seems like more people watch Friends.
Okay.
But I don't often hear like it's just kind of few and far between of my students who watch Seinfeld.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I guess I'm not surprised to see these results, but it makes me want to encourage you if you
Yeah.
are one of those 70%, give it a try.
Oh my god, it's so funny. It is just so funny. And like we said in that episode, if you didn't listen to that episode, go back and check it out again. Is so embedded into American English and American culture. It's
Yeah.
almost required that you at least know the references,
Yes.
right?
Yes, it's everywhere. So,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely listen to that episode to find out what are these references that we're talking about. So,
Okay.
okay, awesome. So, Lindsay, I know we're a little bit into January, but what do you usually do for New Year's Eve or New Year's Day? Do you have a typical tradition?
Yeah, I think this year we're going to go skiing on New Year's
Mhm.
Day. On New Year's Day.
Oh.
Yeah, because you know what? No one does that and you get the mountain to yourself. We do that sometimes on Christmas Day as well. Because no one does it. It's the opposite. It's like what's that saying, Michelle? When others zig, you should zag.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Right?
That's adorable.
Zigzag. When others zig, you should zag. Do the opposite of what everyone else does. It's a good rule of thumb in life. So that's what we like to do. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Well, today we have a listener question that came through on Spotify, actually. And this is dealing with New Year's Day and asking questions
Yes.
about it. So, and again, like I said, listen up for the poll at the end. So, Lindsay, would you like
Wonderful.
to read the question for us?
Yeah, this is from Krizai, and our listener says, "Hello, talking about New Year's Day. What kind of ceremonies in different countries do they have, like a family vacation, like in Farsi-speaking countries, or do you all go on vacation?" Good question, right? So this
Yes.
listener maybe lives in Iran and is saying they go on family vacations together and wondering what we do, right?
Right, right, exactly. So this is a great question. Today we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about New Year's Eve, New Year's Day in the US.
Mm,
So guys, also, if you haven't listened, recently we did episode 2123 was 6 ways to say party in English.
love
Okay.
that. Because there are a lot
So,
of parties
yeah.
around this time of year.
Yes.
I mean, we are kind of finishing up that time, but there will be Valentine's Day. There will be lots of parties in the spring and the winter
Yeah.
coming up. Dinner parties, Michelle. Do you like to
There's
host dinner parties in the winter?
I mean, it's a nice idea. I don't host them. It's I
Well,
think one day Maybe, I would like
Yeah.
to, but, I like to go to dinner parties.
Sure, sure, and then there's all of our listeners in the Southern Hemisphere, sorry, who
Right?
it's summer for them, so you guys are in summertime enjoying your summer parties, so good
That's
episode
right.
to check out.
That's right, that's right. So, Lindsay, I mean, did you do anything special growing up for New Year's Eve, New Year's Day?
When I was a kid, I thought well, when I was a teenager or in college, I thought I had to go out and had to have an amazing
Yeah,
evening, and I thought that meant, like, clubs, that kind of thing. It had to be just the best night of the year. I put
yeah,
so much pressure on it,
yeah,
and then gradually the pressure came off, and now like, no pressure. I do nothing on New Year's Eve.
yeah. Same. It was always I feel like it is a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
At a certain point in people's lives, they feel this pressure to go out, do
yeah,
certain things, maybe
yep,
if you're single, find a person on that night or
right.
whatever it is. And so, yeah, the pressure's off.
Pressure's
Now
off.
it's like me and Anderson Cooper.
Yeah, at what point did you say to yourself, "Pressure's off"? Is it when you ended up, like,
Yeah.
dating Dan, or, like, when
Um
did you kind of, like, change your mindset towards New Year's Eve?
I guess probably around then because I remember always feeling like, "Oh, you have to go out." And I remember when I lived in the city before I met him, I remember being and I'm not a huge club person, and so
I
I
didn't
never
imagine
was
that.
yeah, I never was that excited about that stuff, but I always felt like, "Oh, okay, I'll
Right,
go."
right.
And
Yeah,
then yeah, because I guess you just feel, I don't know, this need
yeah.
to, which is we really shouldn't, like,
No,
it's kind of a
no.
shame, but what about you, Lindsay? When did it change for you?
Probably in my 30s, maybe when I was in my 20s. Well, I was traveling a lot in my 20s and kind
Yeah,
of spending New Year's in different places, different countries. So I don't remember what that was like, but maybe as I moved into my 30s, I kind of became more comfortable with myself and thought, okay, I can make New Year's Eve
yeah,
what I want it to be. And
that's
that
right.
is just hanging out at home. Ideally, a dinner party with friends would be fantastic, right? It just doesn't always fall on that night.
Right, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I remember as a kid, I would our family friends would always get together. I still remember like when Y2K was happening, and
Mm,
I remember I feel maybe we've talked about this a little bit before, but I remember this moment of I wasn't nervous. I wasn't
yeah.
nervous when it was going to be, strike midnight. And then I still remember so clearly where I was in my friend's living room, and we were counting down 10, 9, 8, and I had this little moment of, "Oh, no!"
That's what everyone did, yeah, and for our
Yeah.
listeners who, maybe weren't tuned in then,
Uh-huh.
we weren't sure what was gonna happen with the computer systems and with the internet and really the infrastructure of the world. I guess we weren't really sure what was gonna happen when the clocks turned over to the year
Yeah,
2000. I remember
yeah,
that too. I was at a house party. I was a senior in high school, and I had the same feeling, Michelle. It's like,
yeah.
"Ooh, maybe we should be worried, but now it's too late. Okay, boom." Nothing
Yeah.
happened.
Exactly, exactly. So, guys, we'll talk more about New Year's in just a second, but remember, guys, if you haven't already, please hit follow so you never miss any of our episodes.
Yeah, totally. All right. So, are there any special ceremonies? That is what our listeners
Yeah.
asking us. I mean, are there, Michelle?
I
Yeah. What do you think?
yeah, I know. I was trying to think about if there are special ceremonies because I think of, like, okay, in New York, there's the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and there's the tree,
Well, I
when
mean,
the
of
tree
course, you have
goes
the
up.
ball drop, right?
Yeah, the
In
ball
Times
drop,
Square.
exactly. So
Yeah.
in that, yeah, that's true. So I was yeah, you're right. I wasn't thinking of New Year's Day. Actually, this past New Year's Day, we did go into the city, and we were in, and we were like, we went to, what I meant was we went to the Times Square area, but on New Year's
Hmm.
Day, and it was cool because you could still see the confetti on the ground.
That's cool. Yeah.
But I could never do the actual Times Square ball drop.
No, I don't think I'd be into that either. But a lot. So, the famous icon from that, I think he's passed away now. Is he passed away now? Dick
Yeah.
Clark, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he was the famous guy, but now they've rotated in new. Who is the current host of that? Do you know, Michelle, of the ball dropping in Times Square? Is it?
Is it Ryan Seacrest? I'm
It could
not,
be. I don't know, actually, to be
I
honest.
actually
But
don't know either. I think
usually,
it's Ryan
usually,
Seacrest.
yeah. Usually, if that person is in that position, usually they're in it for many years and they
Yeah.
become an icon of that
Yes.
event,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. So, I mean, aside from the ball dropping, I don't know if there's necessarily like a special New Year's Day ceremony that is
not
celebrated all over
I
the country.
I
I feel like it's
don't
more just kind of
think
a
so.
relaxing
Yeah. I
uh,
mean, it
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I don't think there is anything I mean, it's not New Year's Eve is not a New Year's Day is not a
yeah,
religious, thing, and so I don't think there is any kind of official holiday. Obviously, it's a day off that most people have the day off.
yeah,
I think for me, it's just a quiet day. If I'm not skiing, it's usually a very quiet day at home, like, very low key. Everything's
yeah.
closed, so you don't try to get anything done. A day to kinda recoup, maybe watch movies, just quiet because it's cold out, right?
Yeah, I also feel like I think of it. I know this is terrible, but as a kid, because I mean, there it was always then you're going back to school after winter break,
Right.
and so it
Mhm.
was always like, oh, now
So
winter
sad.
break is over. I'm going back to school, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
in that sense, yeah, it's like kind of the end of that. I I mean, obviously it's a nice thing, but I think that January and February are a little bit tough to get through because the
Mhm.
holiday
Mhm.
season is over. There's not as much cheer in the air. Now it's
Yeah.
just kind of cold and gross, and now we have to make it through, and
It's
that's
just
when
back
you
to
start
work.
itching for the spring, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, some people write New Year's resolutions, right? And we're going to
Right.
ask you guys in a minute in our poll today, whether you do, right? I want to know what our listeners have to think about that. But it is a good day to do that. I actually like that time because it's a clean slate. You're starting over. You can set new goals for yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like that opportunity. But I remember as a kid feeling like, oh, vacation's over.
Yeah.
There are no more presents under the tree. It's that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
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 and guys, I mean, also for this listener, there is usually kind of this winter break in between Christmas and New Year's. A
hmm
lot of businesses are it's a very slow time. Like that's not a time
yes,
when you want to make a lot of big moves, when you want to
yeah.
expect a lot of people. You might call a business for a question and they're not even there. So
Mhm, true.
it's kind of a everybody is relaxed week.
Yeah,
Did you go
yes.
on vacations during winter break as a kid or?
As a kid, maybe a few times, but generally no. I went, to Germany a few years ago during that time, which was great. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a great time to travel.
Yeah,
I'm not usually that crowded in terms of the travel scene because most people are home for Christmas, right?
yeah,
Or the holidays rather.
yeah,
So, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
Michelle, should we teach our listeners some phrases here on how to talk about
Yes.
this?
Well,
Yes,
we're
let's do
gonna
it.
ask because this listener is asking about, the customs in this country,
Yeah.
with New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. So we're gonna give you some ways that you can ask people about these things.
Okay.
So the first one is, what is X like in Y? So for example,
Yeah.
what is New Year's like in the US? So
Yeah,
from
and I like this what is something like because it's very broad, right? It's not a
Mhm.
yes or no question. It really leaves it very open for the person to
Mm,
answer it however they want. A lot of freedom
exactly.
for your listener, your person in front of you, right?
That's right, that's right. What's another, thing that you could ask?
Okay, we can say is X a big deal and why? So is Valentine's Day a big deal in Italy? It's a good question, Michelle. I don't know.
I don't know either. But guys, if you're in
Yeah,
Italy, let us know.
right.
Um, and then you could say, "What are some X customs in Y?" So, for
Yeah.
example, what are some Christmas customs in New Zealand?
Or here's your fourth one. How is X typically celebrated in Y? I feel like we're doing math here.
I
X,
know, me too.
Y,
I was gonna
X times Y times Z divided by 2.
say.
How is Halloween typically celebrated in the US?
Good.
Nice. These are great
Yeah,
questions. Guys, put these in your back pocket. These are questions for connection, right?
definitely.
Okay, Michelle, do we have a key our poll for today? Do we have our poll of what we want to
Let's
know about our listeners?
Yes, let's do it. So, we were talking a little bit about New Year's resolutions. So, we want to know, do you guys, our listeners, do you write New Year's resolutions? Yes or no? So,
Yeah.
let us know on the Spotify poll, and the results will be coming up in a future episode.
I'm curious about this.
Hmm.
Michelle, do you? First of all, real quick, do you write New Year's resolutions?
Nah, nah.
Okay, you're a no. I do sometimes. It depends on my mood. Let's say that
Yeah,
much. Yeah.
I don't do it. I try. No, I
Okay.
don't.
Okay. Nice.
Maybe
Fair
I
enough.
should.
Fair enough. No, no, no.
Yeah.
That's okay. Should we jump into a role play real quick before we
Let's
finish up? Okay.
Sure, let's give it a try. Okay, here we go.
Okay. Hey, what is July 4th like in Washington, D.C.? I know you grew up in that area.
Yeah. Oh, it's fun. There's usually a huge concert on the National Mall. What about in New Hampshire? Is New Year's a big deal there?
Oh, not really. I grew up in a quiet town in New Hampshire, so just people doing their own thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well,
Yeah.
so you asked me what is July 4th like in Washington, D.C., and then I
Yeah.
told you about it.
Mhm, and then you said, "Is New Year's a big deal there?" Right? Kind of a follow-up question, similar question. You're just reflecting back the same question to me,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Exactly. Yes. So, Lindsay, what do you think the takeaway is for today?
I mean, the takeaway is, guys, make your conversations timely. Make them timely. Right now, we're
Mm,
just coming off of this season, so you still can
yeah.
ask these questions because maybe you're now seeing your coworkers for the first time
Yeah.
since the holidays, since the New
Yes.
Year's, and so this would be the time to drop those questions, especially if you're on a remote meeting and you have a colleague in another country. Oh, what is New Year's like in Japan, for
Yeah.
example? We can do
Yeah.
that. This is how we connect based on timely questions. Love it.
Love it. Okay, good.
Yes.
All right. Well, guys, we hope that you have a wonderful 2024. And we will see you in the next episode.
All right, Michelle, talk soon. Bye.
Bye.